Hey, true. Well, nope. Hey, true believers, and I don't know what we're doing anymore. Hey, true believers, England team here. I'm with Dalton, and I've never claimed to be a professional. I'm on my 6th year of doing this, by the way. Actually, I think I just claimed my 6th year of being a YouTuber over at I Love Comics, and I'm still not professional. I don't know how that is. Sure as heck aren't getting paid anymore. So I want to talk about Cruella. There's a lot of things to talk about it. Definitely reviewing. We're going to be doing that. But the whole thing is, this is a movie, I got to tell you, I did not want to see. As a matter of fact, the more they showed the preview, and the preview was everywhere. Like if I started Hulu, okay, it's on the commercials on that. If I started a YouTube video, the commercials on that. Every time I saw a commercial, I wanted to see this movie less and less and less. And I understand that right away, that first preview said, oh, okay, so they're basically making the Joker, but it's going to be for Cruella De Vil.
Yeah.
And do we really want another villain origin story? Because they took Maleficent and they turned that gorgeous evil queen into an anti-hero of sorts. It was the fault of
they wickeded her.
Yeah, it was
because Disney has a bug up its posterior about not being able to touch Wicked, and so they made their own.
And this is just not necessary, I thought, because, I mean, let's face it, we didn't need to see a Halloween movie that explained to us why Michael Myers was an evil the bad guy, you know. Disney Channel.
I specifically avoided swearing, and then he goes.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it. But yeah, we don't need to see why Michael Myers kills. We don't need to see anything that humanizes, and it's the same thing with Cruella De Vil. You kind of figured, but I did hear, like, I haven't read the books, but I heard that in the books she might actually be the devil or some sort of demon or something about it. And so I thought this was completely not necessary. What did you think before this movie opened?
I actually liked the sort of Joker, but for Cruella vibe, because the Joker is not your typical humanizing origin story.
No, it isn't. No.
It gives justification for why they break, why the snap happens, why they go full tilt loco, if you like, but they don't make them a sympathetic villain. They just remind you that they are a person. And I've always said this whenever faced with people criticizing the Joker movie. You guys do realize that evil people and bad people and wrong people and all those kinds of people are still people at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, okay.
And I don't mind something like that being done with Cruella, because the difference between that and Maleficent is they take away Maleficent's evil in Maleficent. They don't let her actually be the glorious, cackling, self-aware to the point of quoting fairy tale to Prince Philip while he's in her dungeon, mistress of all evil. They metatize it to the point of no, she was actually Aurora's fairy godmother, and the 3 good fairies that were the most sympathetic characters in the original were useless.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, what they did to them was that was a wrong thing to do.
It was so awful. But instead of that, what we get with Cruella is kind of this is why she does what she does. This is how you can kind of contextualize it so that you can evil laugh along with her. It doesn't remove the evil. It just explains how we got from point A to point B, which I'm fine with.
Okay. Yeah, and that's all before we get to the actual movie. I mean, this is just our preconceived notions. I went in wanting to hate this film, and that might be a way to go about it because sometimes when a movie is hyped up, oh well, yeah, I'm so excited to see this, you kind of get a little disappointed. If you go in with no expectations or even low expectations, maybe it's even easier for it to let's see. I just realized I didn't do half the stuff I should have, but I am listening and I am talking about this.
Yeah, well, as far as I go, I was, because they were kind of going the Joker angle, I was excited for this because I was hoping that this would basically be Maleficent done right, where they would learn you don't make a villain origin story by removing the villainy, you just let the audience have fun along the ride with the villain. And not to get too far into the review part until we get there, but I think they get about a B+ in terms of doing that, which is much better than I would ever give. Both of the Maleficent movies are various cacophonies of just no immediately.
I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest. I just don't find them interesting. They're not fun. I think they actually serve to destroy the character.
Yeah, they
Maleficent. Now, and by that I don't mean that was the original. That was the original intent. When I say they serve to, obviously, they don't. Nobody sets out to make a bad film. Not really.
Right, but what they effectively ended up doing was taking everything that made Maleficent unique and wonderful and kind of compelling and removing it. And not only removing it, but making you feel stupid as the audience for liking that in the first place. And that was why I hated it so much. That I'm usually softer on the Disney live action remakes and reboots and things. But
I, on the other hand, I got to tell you, my relationship with the Disney reboots, I tend to like the one or the ones that doesn't have a lot of. I'm like Dumbo, love it. It's its own movie. If you watch Dumbo in the animated classic, and you watch Dumbo, the live action version, you're going to get two distinct films, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. You still get the story. Some people don't like it because of the added things, and it does break it down. It's a very strange movie. It's a very simple film, but it's a kids movie at the same time, so I don't fault it for that. But I like Dumbo as one of the better live action remakes, and I know that a lot of people do not. I am on the minority side of that.
Myself, I think a little bit included in that. Although I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people seem to. But I'm usually a lot softer on the Disney live action remakes and reboots and things. But Maleficent just is the bottom of the barrel for me. And maybe it is because Sleeping Beauty was one of the first Disney movies that I ever truly loved, and had a lot of impact on my childhood. But I love Maleficent as a character, so what they did to her just made me want to swear up a storm, but can't because we're on the Disney Channel.
Of course, yes. That is, and I don't know if I would put it as the worst, but then again, you got to wonder how far back to go. I do not, by the way, include Glenn Close's brilliant turn as Cruella De Vil in the 90s as a live action. I always it's kind of like you might not count the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies as a Marvel movie because they started with Iron Man, even though they were just a few years before. I think the Disney remakes, when I say that, they started at Alice in Wonderland because that's when we got this new slew of films.
The modern wave of them, certainly. Anyway,
But I do
But
think that Glenn Close did an excellent job as a live action Cruella De Vil.
that the live action 101 Dalmatians was one of my favorite movies as a kid. So I will always have a soft spot for that movie.
Yeah, and give me just a moment. I'm going to ballot. Just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. And then he left me alone with the audience. This was horrible mistake number one. How is everybody doing, folks?
Sorry, I thought maybe it would be kind of cool to add on Extreme Movie Show as well, since this is a movie review. But we will be watching our language just a little bit. Okay, so I decide, okay, fine, let's watch this movie. Gail, I kind of, she was the one that wanted to watch the movie, but I watched it by myself. I told her, I'll take you to see it because here's the thing. It was good. I got to tell you something. Yeah, I know I don't walk through. This is going to be a largely positive review of Cruella from me. And I think there are a lot of really good, I'm going to say like 1980s style dark moments in this film. Some of the criticisms that were laid against this movie are absolutely wrong. Not just a little bit wrong. I actually normally don't watch other people's reviews knowing I'm going to do a review of a movie, but I did watch the Nostalgia Critic, but he's not the Nostalgia Critic. He's
Doug Walker.
There you go. Okay. He did one, and I watched it. I went, dude, you missed a lot, and you did not understand the main thing about this. You got to understand, this isn't a remake. It isn't. This is a prequel. This is a prequel movie, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a remake of 101 Dalmatians. In no way, shape, or form does she go out trying to kidnap a whole bunch of dogs or anything like that. This is how she became the person that's at the very beginning of that movie. When you watch 101 Dalmatians, whether you're watching the Cruella De Vil version, whether you watch this one, this is how she became that character. So I think that right there is something a lot of people get wrong right out of the gate, and that is the fact that this is not a remake. It is a prequel film. My wife just walked in, so my mother-in-law decided she needs to yell.
Cruella Year Zero is
yeah, it's basically that. So when I'm watching this, I start watching it knowing that everything we're seeing is a setup for what we're about to see. So where is Cruella at the very beginning of this? Of course, we know that I forget his name. I think it's John and Anita meet. And then, of course, the dogs have puppies, and in comes Cruella. Boom. She wants the puppies.
Yeah.
And we find out why. But Lord in heaven, you guys are standing right next to each other. I can hear my family better than I can hear you. So this film absolutely sets up so many things. We have the whole bit about, if you remember in the 101 Dalmatians movie, she's whipping around corners. She's going almost off the road. And they do touch upon this where she can't drive. They set up the Jasper and Horace, how they went from friends to underlings. So everything is set up in this movie. Yeah.
It was nice. It was nice, and it reminded me a lot of the Glenn Close version.
Talk about the movie just for a little bit. Gail came home. That set off the bird. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, he's dealing with birds. Let's talk about Cruella's backstory. Yes, they kind of give her almost like an Oliver Twistian backstory that kind of also reminded me a little bit of the Penguin from Tim Burton's Batman, a little bit, which it may seem like an odd comparison, but and they do kind of give her own Cruella or a proto Cruella in the form of Emma Thompson's character.
Yeah, one of the big criticisms before, and by the way, I brought this up on the live stream last night, and it was, well, I'm not going to see it because, and people lay in all the things that they think are going on. I'm like, then stop it. Stop complaining about it. Just stop. All right. I'm losing respect for you. Yeah. When you do that. I'm never going to see it because it's got this in it. Wait, no, you're wrong. And the fact that you say you're never going to see it because you're wrong, it's something. Hey, Gailey, can y'all bring it down just a little bit? Y'all are yelling at each other. Okay. So anyway, yes.
You're the one that's yelling. We're just talking normal.
Okay, but I can hear you guys straight through, and we're on a live stream. All right. So I'm yelling because I can't hear above them. So anyway, it's and that's one thing. There's a lot of criticism to it. One of the things I heard, of course, that I do agree with is that Emma Thompson is basically playing Meryl Streep from Devil Wears Prada, and people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to see it because she's doing this." I'm like, "Oh, shut up."
Yeah, that was
shut up.
Yeah, that was something that I had said, I think, in our DM group. Emma Thompson's character is basically Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada if she was also the villain from Catwoman, kind of.
Okay. Well, here's my problem with the whole I'm not going to see this movie because she's doing that. I can name you 15 or 20 movies that you love that are derivatives of other movies. Well, I'm not going to watch Star Wars. Why? Because there's a shootout at the OK Corral in the OK Corral. I'm not going to watch. And plus we've got a smuggler character, or it's basically a Akira Kurosawa film.
How do they do it, and can it stand on its own or in the own logic of the universe? And it does. And Emma Thompson kills it in that role.
There's certain movies that are straight up stolen films. Quentin Tarantino makes brilliant movies, but the way he writes a film is a lot of times he likes a scene in a movie and he'll rewrite that scene and then he'll make a movie around that movie. That happens so many times, but hey, that film is great. Yeah, that happens. So that criticism and the fact that I will never watch that because of it, that's your own prejudice. And look,
and here's the other nifty little canard here. Is or is not Miranda Priestley basically like Cruella De Vil? So
it kind of goes in a circle.
There's the other, it's life imitating art or art imitating other art, and then it imitates itself, kind of thing.
In the there were a couple of questions that needed to be answered, and I thought, or that didn't need to be answered, but I'm glad they did, because there are certain things that I always wondered about. Let me, obviously, I don't think a Disney movie to Underworld Dream is going to relate Cruella De Vil to a serial killer. But here's the thing. Why is Anita and Roger, I think it is actually.
Roger and Anita.
Why isn't Anita and Roger, why are they still hanging around with Cruella De Vil at the beginning of 101 Dalmatians? Oh, but she's an old school pal. Yeah, you know what? I've got a lot of old school pals I don't hang around with. And some of them are because, look, we have grown so far away from each other. That's something that I wondered. They set this up, and we're going to talk about that, because one of the things that was brought up was how this movie makes Cruella De Vil less evil than but no. This movie elevates Cruella De Vil's evilness to different levels. It doesn't do it in a graphic way. It doesn't, as a matter of fact, it does it in a very clever way that you actually have to think about. But it does explain, the ending explains how Anita and Roger are still friends or acquaintances with Cruella De Vil. why, if Cruella is living in basically a shack with Jasper and Horace, thank you, how did she get that freaking fantastically long car? You know, that's answered here. There are a lot of things that are brought in that makes you go, oh my gosh, yeah, that they answered that question. They answered that question. This question is answered. Everything is really cool. This was a remarkably dark film as well.
Yeah, they didn't shy away from Cruella being Cruella. And the easiest comparison I can make of it, and it actually works because a lot of the Disney subverting the villain stories have the same problem as the thing I'm going to reference, which is Once Upon a Time. In Once Upon a Time, every villain gets a sympathetic backstory, except Cruella. They let Cruella literally be a born sociopath. And they don't go that far here quite, but
no, they do
come pretty darn close.
Yeah, they do because of this twist you find out at the end, and it may just be a little bit too much. In all honesty, I do agree. The running time it's too long, and the twist at the end is not necessary, but it does say, okay, yes, she was a born sociopath. She was born this way. She was born evil. And by the way, I don't think you could talk about the movie without bringing up the fact that the acting in this is excellent.
Like I said, Emma Thompson absolutely kills it as the surrogate, like proto Cruella or Miranda Priestley type character. And her and Emma Stone going off of each other works like I want a movie just with the two of them in it, honestly. Like,
the fashion angle of the movie I thought was kind of cool. We saw some really cool gala clothing. This is not something that would be worn out, except a couple of the pieces. But it was kind of fun to watch what they came up with. I thought that was really cool.
I still think, as far as visual aesthetic, the Glenn Close version probably nails the fashion angle a little better. But
well, I can see that because she always keeps the red, the black, and the white. There are a couple of times where this Cruella steps out of that, and I think that, call it a mistake or whatever. I just think it goes a little bit.
It worked in context, but it kind of takes away from the iconicness just a little bit.
So I'm watching this film, and I did bring up the length. I could probably trim about a half hour off of this movie, and still have the movie that you're watching, and it be pretty good. That was one of the problems. The other problem is they did set her up early in the movie. They steal a car from Emma Thompson, that big long car that she eventually drives. And they say, you know how to drive? She says, no. Yet later in the movie, she's driving a dump truck with precision that allows her to go down narrow alleyways. I'm like, a little plot hole there, guys. That was something. Of course, the length, as I mentioned. Beyond that, I don't think there is a real bad moment. It's just that there was something as I'm watching this that goes, wow, this is a good movie. So why is there something off? Why is this not 100%?
It just didn't match quite.
The thing is, I'm having and sometimes this happens, I'm having far more fun talking about the movie than I was watching the film, even though I was liking the movie while I was watching it. It's just this weird kind of feeling. I want to watch it again. Maybe it was my own prejudices towards the film that caused me not to jump in. So I want to get a little spoilery here. And this is the part that I'm going to explain why they made Cruella De Vil, or how they made Cruella De Vil far more evil than you ever thought she was. At the beginning of the 101 Dalmatian film, like I said, you get Roger and Anita meeting. They both have Dalmatians, and what a coincidence. They get together. They fall in
The
love.
dogs get
The
together.
dogs
also
get together and they have babies. And on the night the puppies are born, Cruella De Vil, hey, I'm here and I want your puppies because I want to make a coat out of them. That is the opening of 101 Dalmatians, give or take a couple of scenes. And in this one, she's sitting around their little hut. Horace is next, not Horace, but Jasper's next door. And she looks over at Emma Thompson's dogs who they have kidnapped. And she goes, they would make lovely coats. And Jasper goes, excuse me. And she's like, kidding. Now, this is something when I was watching the Nostalgia Critic, Doug Walker's review, that he was like, why did they set her up that she wasn't somebody who would do this? No. If you listen to the way she said kidding, she wasn't kidding. She was thinking, she was planning.
She's covering her posterior for later.
So, no, Venkman, the dogs did not kill her mom. The dogs did not kill her mom. Emma Thompson killed her mom using the dogs. That's why it was so important when she kidnapped the dogs and she became their master.
Mm-hmm.
That was what happened. If you're not going to watch the film, don't comment on the film like you've seen it. That was what we talked about in the beginning of this review.
Yeah.
The dogs weren't sitting around going, you know what we should do? Yeah, you see that lady over there? Let's go kill her. You know what? I think that you want to do that. You want to do it? No. It's set up where Emma Thompson sicks the dogs on her. And that is when she realizes that. And by the way, that is a really dark scene when she's sitting there trying to learn all the fashion stuff. And she talks, she brings up her mom. And Emma Thompson is, kind of, wondering. And then she tells the story. And Emma Thompson calls the dogs. She realized, oh, my gosh, she killed my mom using the dogs. And it was that made her go, okay, yeah, I'm going to destroy all that Emma Thompson is. And that's why they kidnapped the dog. So anyway, she actually says that, oh, they'll make such wonderful coats. And Jasper says no. And she says, just kidding. She wasn't kidding. More to the point, at the end, there's a mid-credit scene. Mm-hmm. And you have you see Roger. He opens up the door and there's a little Dalmatian puppy. And I forget what it said, but it was something to the effect of, I know you need some company. Here's a Dalmatian, love Cruella or whatever. And then it shows Anita. And it basically is the same. No, you need companionship or whatever. Here's a Dalmatian. Her name's Perdita, love Cruella. And
which means that Cruella gave Roger and Anita Pongo and Purdy specifically so that they would eventually have puppies and she would get her coat.
Yeah, that was something that was amazing to me. They just made Cruella far more evil than she ever was in the original film, because she had planned this thing all the way back years and years before,
when Pongo and Purdy were still puppies.
That not only were these two going to get together, she was going to manipulate a relationship between a man and a woman, but when the puppies came in, she's going to steal these things so she can make a coat. I mean,
it also makes Cruella brilliant beyond measure. So
it is so ridiculous, though. It's like a Marvel Universe villain plan or a DCU villain plan, where at some point in time Lex Luthor had to pee in a jar. It is far more complicated than you have to do. I mean, if she buys the puppies, just the dogs, raise the dogs and have them make all the puppies she wants, nobody else is involved. But that is
maybe she wanted that level of manipulation, though.
Yeah,
maybe that was part of the thrill. So
maybe, yeah. And the thing is with this Cruella, you can actually see that. So yeah, to Hilliam, that is what we're saying. There's a level of evil to this Cruella that that is not even brought up in the original 101 Dalmatians movie.
She's like a spider waiting for the kill.
and that's the thing. There are some really great. This is one of those things where I've said this before. I almost hate the way I got into YouTube because it's so freaking. It's the first reaction to damn near anything is I've got to hate this. You know, there is no let's give it a try and watch it on its own merits with some groups and some people. And I've got to tell you, just watch it, you know, let it sit on its own merit. You might like it, you might not like it. But the whole thing about, oh, well, I've already got my preconceived notion and it will never change because I'll never stoop to the level of actually seeing it. We see it all the time. We actually talk about it. What gets me is VENKMAN, who's leaving little things, snarky comments because he wants to hate the movie without seeing it. He goes off on people who do this, and yet he's doing this.
Yeah, and I had to deal with this a lot. VENKMAN. Yeah, I had to deal with this a lot lately with the Sandman casting announcement. Yeah. Because people were complaining that, oh, the pronouns are there. Well, some, you know, and oh, Desire is a non-binary character, and it's like,
always was.
Do you know anything about do you know anything about Sandman? And then people were complaining, did they gender flip John Constantine? And it's like, no.
Oh, that one's ridiculously stupid. Yeah.
She's his ancestor. If you knew the comics or could even just Google, you would know that Lady Joanna Constantine is John Constantine's ancestor, and it's not a problem because they both always been in the book. But never mind. That's a rant for a different.
Now, here's something they don't answer, but this would actually make it even worse: are the puppies both related to each other? So the 101 puppies are inbred. That wasn't brought up. That wasn't brought up. So we can't really answer that. I wouldn't put it past this Cruella, but we can't actually answer that. So yeah,
vampire bats,
it's Inhuman Beast. Yeah,
you ought to be locked up and never released. Like the Cruella song was always struck me in the animated version as a little bit of an exaggeration, and it got a lot closer in the live action version. And then this version just basically confirmed, nope, that song is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
This woman is basically a female Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. It's oh shoot. Okay. I hooked us up to Extreme Movie Show and never went live. I was wondering because Vink was like, remove the pending. Oh man,
you can just repost it after.
Well, that's what I'm gonna do. The whole thing was I've never had to hit live on both channels before. I just hit one and they go to both of them.
Yeah.
So okay, we're gonna score this. You know the way we do it. It's 1 and 2 is horrible. 3 and 4 is bad. 5 and 6 is average. 7 and 8 is good. 9 and 10 is excellent. Where do you stand? And give a little bit of a why you stand there.
I'll give it a 7. I think, because there are parts of this, and like you were saying, it is overlong, and it is the twist gets a little bit, you know, a twist within a twist at times, so there are problems with it. But as far as the Disney live action crop, you know, starting at Tim Burton's Alice and going on up is concerned, this is by far the best one, probably.
In all honesty, I'm gonna take away the probably, and I'm gonna say this is the best one. Which I think that distinction for me was held by the Jungle Book and Cinderella. That is not a high bar at all.
No,
by the way,
it's not a high bar to clear.
It's like saying, "Hey, this is the best smelling poop." It's,
Yeah,
it's not exactly.
But yeah, that being said, I don't like this quite as much as I liked, and I know it's not quite a fair comparison because we did say it's in a different generation, but it's another Cruella movie, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna compare them.
Well, if you compare Cruella to Cruella, I don't think there is. Well, okay, no. I would love to have seen Glenn Close play this script.
Oh my god.
That is something I would like to see.
Instant Oscar. Just shut up and take all of the
take my
Oscars.
money. Yeah, not now though. Not aged now. This Glenn Close would have had to have been around the same age. We would have needed to see even a big chill. Chill Glenn Close or before that. This is definitely an age thing. Underworld Dream is saying, do you think that she should play Harley Quinn? No. I think that she does do a good job at playing crazy and playing evil and all that kind of stuff here, but it's a different kind of crazy and evil than Harley Quinn is.
I honestly would have preferred if Margot Robbie played Harley Quinn a little bit more like this. But I don't think just transplanting them over would work. And I do like Margot Robbie as an actor, and she does a good job with what she's usually given as Harley. She's just not usually given much. So I'm not gonna swap them or anything.
But I think I would give it an 8. I would give it an 8. As much as I do think this is too long and there's one too many twists, I enjoyed it as myself, and I'm thinking about how I would have enjoyed it as a kid. If you bring your family to it, I wouldn't say bring a 6-year-old in. 6-year-olds are just realizing that movies are fake. But between that 6 and 12, 13, this would have been the kind of movie I would have loved as a kid that was on HBO and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I could see kids having a blast with this.
Oh, if I had seen this around the time that that I saw the Glenn Close one, or heck, if this had been a prequel to the Glenn Close one, you shut up and take all of my childhood love and all of my childhood nostalgia.
It's that good. It really is. So I would have given this an 8. I think it is a very it's a good movie. And once again, it's not a live action Disney remake. We shouldn't even be talking about that in the same circle. This is a prequel, guys, and it's one of the few prequels I think that works.
And honestly, this is exactly the kind of thing they should have done with Maleficent, and they should have done with Ursula, and they should have done with the Evil Queen, and they should have done with all of the great Disney villains.
They could have even kept the same story where she loved somebody and that person betrayed. Therefore, she now isolates herself and she's sitting and simmering in her own thoughts. And then when that person who she once loved has a baby with somebody else, she comes and curses it. Yes, that would have been a great prequel story for Maleficent instead of what they did to her. Cruella, they just made her evil. And I think that's fantabulous. Anyway, gonna shut it down here. Thank you very much for listening to us rant and talk about and fanboy, about Cruella for 40 minutes. I certainly appreciate that. Don't forget to click like and share and do all that kind of cool stuff. Hit the notification bell because that's really all YouTube cares about, and they don't really care about that too much. And my family's getting loud. So anyway, as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Remember, have a zippity-doo-dah day. And if you're on the movie channel, stay extreme.
Cheers, guys.